of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, gives a message to the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, and he takes it to X.com. This is what he writes. Like other interactions with students and leaders of Africa, I took this opportunity at State House Entebbe to remind a group from Zimbabwe Defense Forces of historic missions of senior freedom fighters like Robert Mugabe, Kenneth Kaunda, and Julius Nyerere. By and large, that generation delivered on the mission of an independent Africa. Now we are handling the next steps on how to sustainably benefit from a politically independent yet culturally and strategically interconnected Africa. I have shared Uganda's experience and some methods that have helped us. I believe that if we act together as Africans and stop our internal mistakes like corruption, our progress cannot be deterred. That is a message there by the Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. I'm just going to read it again. Like other interactions with students and leaders of Africa, I took the opportunity this afternoon at State House Entebbe to remind a group from Zimbabwe Defense Forces of the historic missions of senior freedom fighters like Mugabe and Kenneth Kaunda and Julius Nyerere. By and large, that generation delivered on the mission of an independent Africa. Now, we are handling our next steps on how to sustainably benefit from a politically independent yet culturally, strategically interconnected Africa. I have shared Uganda's experience and some methods that have helped us. I believe that if we act together as Africans and stop our internal mistakes like corruption and stop our own internal mistakes like corruption, our progress cannot be deterred. Now, who is Yoweri Museveni speaking to here? We're going to come back to that right about now. Anyways, we see Savior Kasukuwere also takes on Christopher Mutsvangwa on X.com, and he makes shocking claims here. What does he say? He writes this. This one is deranged. He can't stand still and conduct a proper interview. If useless was man, he never fired a gun during the war, pretending to be sick throughout the struggle. Lunatic. So here Savior Kasukuwere mentions that during the liberation struggle, Christopher Mutsvangwa pretended to be sick, or he is insinuating that he was pretending to be sick on the moment that video was shot. He says he never fired a gun. Anyways, I did a little digging into the liberation struggle history of Christopher Mutsvangwa. What did I find? Nothing much, other than a post on Wikipedia, which is brief or shallow. It goes, Christopher Atikure Mutsvangwa, born 24 May 1955, is a Zimbabwean politician, diplomat, and businessman, a veteran of the Rhodesian Bush War. Mutsvangwa served the government of independent Zimbabwe and the ZANU-PF party in a number of roles. Nothing more on the liberation struggle. Then we scroll down to see. We see this one, another war of words. Mutsvangwa and his wife have parroted anti-Ndebele sentiments, with his wife mocking victims of the Gukrahundi genocide. Early life and education. Christopher Hatikuri Mutsvangwa was born on 24 May 1955 at Salisbury Central Hospital in Salisbury, Southern Rhodesia, now Harare. He spent his early childhood in the Salisbury suburb of Mbare before returning to his family's home region near Chief Nyangwenda, Mashonaland Central. He did his primary education at Masawi and Marirangwe School and began his secondary studies at Kutama College before completing his A-levels at St. Augustine's in Penalonga. Mutsvangwa was among just 7 black students selected to enter the Faculty of Law of then University of Rhodesia in 1975, but left shortly thereafter to join ZIPRA in Mozambique. So he later completed his education in 1984. Now, in 1975, that is when he joins ZIPRA in Mozambique. And 5 years after, Zimbabwe would gain independence. Now, during that time, already peace talks were happening. So, Kasukuwere, they might actually have a point, or does he? Here, if we look at this, we see there's a Geneva conference in 1976. That is 1 year after Chris Mutsvangwa would have joined ZIPRA. 14 December 1976 took place in Switzerland during the Rhodesia Bush War 1976. So this time the main man is the Supreme General Josiah Tongogara. Then the Victoria Falls Conference, so there is a sort of a ceasefire during this period. The Rhodesia Internal Settlement 1975 and March 1975, which predictably ended in failure. Then they mention Geneva. Here, Southern Rhodesia Geneva Conference 1976. Then 3 reels of mute footage delegates 1975. Here. So, maybe fighting in the liberation war just involved joining those parties before independence. It means that you are a liberation war hero. Here we are seeing 1976 is the Geneva Conference that would lead to the Lancaster House Conference. Already there were talks of a transition, then elections at this time. So actually this one is clearer. The Geneva Conference has its origin in the South African detent policy instituted in the late 1974, and more directly, the peace initiative headed by the United States Secretary General of State Henry Kissinger earlier in 1976, after Kissinger was rejected by nationalists. Talks were organized by Britain to salvage a deal. So this one will cover it on its own video. Rather, it is very interesting. When did the Chimurenga end? The last 5 years was more of talks and negotiations. Now, back to Yoweri Museveni. Was Yoweri Museveni addressing the entire military Zimbabwe, or there was a team of Zimbabwean military personnel who was there in Uganda? Here he states that, like other interactions with students and leaders of Africa, I took the opportunity this afternoon at State House in Tebe to remind a group from Zimbabwe Defense Forces. That one is directed. So we see him here with these military personnel on the screen there. Then another one here. If I zoom this one, this man sitting over there looks like he has a Zimbabwean flag there on his chest. However, as his message progresses, he then speaks on Africa, independent Africa. Now, we are handling the next steps on how to sustainably benefit from a politically independent yet culturally and strategically interconnected Africa. I have shared Uganda's experience and some methods that have helped us. I believe that if we act together as Africans, and stop our own internal mistakes like corruption, our progress cannot be deterred. With that, I sign out. Enough respect to everybody who was watching us live right about now. Watching from Pumalanga is Dino Manyara, Jackson Masariri. I am very safe. I am safe. My safety is not guaranteed by so-called danger, but by my creator. So danger does not exist. Big up to Darlington, Measure. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Somewhere in the Bible, King David writes, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Though I walk through the shadow of death in the valley, through the valley of shadow of death, nyango ndikafamba pampata yemvuri werufu." It just means shadow. Anyways, thank you very much for that message. The Lord is my shepherd, but, and this is why. There's just a statement over there. Dominus regit me. With that, I sign out.